Hey everyone, come follow me again. Oh, so good. This week is amazing. Temple Dedicatory Prayer, the first one in this dispensation. I'm pretty sure they would have given some sort of dedicatory prayer on the temples in the Old Testament, but we don't have those. We have this one, and we have all the other ones, and you can access them. My husband was like, because one of the suggestions in the Come Follow Me manual this week was to read the Temple Dedicatory Prayer that is closest to you. And my husband's like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's in the Tools app. So if you go to Tools, go to Temples, and you can read the dedicatory prayer. Or, here's a thought, get the Temple app, because they're all in there as well. Really cool. And you can, it's just such, you just keep reading. And the promises that apply. And what's really cool about, because the New Zealand Temple, Hamilton New Zealand Temple is closest to mine, to here, to me. And in there, the promises that are talked about, because it was given in like 1958, and that's a long time ago, I've actually been able to read that, and then look at this area and go, that happened. It's pretty cool, right? The promises that were given in there have happened, and we're looking forward to our temple being rededicated after its restructuring and earthquake reinforcement. And we keep praying that we're able to go to that, because I want to hear that prayer. I want to be part of that. So, pretty cool. But anyway, section 109, let's get into it. Rambling around there. Section 109 is, it is pre-written, but it's the same as today. Like, they don't just turn up, the apostles, don't just turn up. First President don't just turn up and, of course they give an amazing prayer, but they are pre-written. And that's okay. We have plenty of pre-written prayers, and they're still heard and still accepted, and they're amazing. So that's all right. That's what happens, though. This one was written Joseph Smith, and I know Warren Cowdery helped him, and I think maybe Oliver. I'm not too sure on that, but I know Warren Cowdery helped him. I did read that in Saints, and there was a couple of others. They sort of just, I think, imported on the area, maybe gave some, I think Joseph wrote it, and as Joseph admitted many times, he was weak in writing, and these brethren were not, so they helped him format it in such a way that was better, so that it just had that spiritual power to it. The same way that I edit my husband's talks, the same way that, our leaders ask us for input so that they can have that finer tuning on things. It just is. Anyway, that's that. It was given to Joseph by revelation, though, even though it was pre-written, so keep that in mind. It does all say this in the section heading. But it's a beautiful, beautiful section. It reads really, really well, because it is a prayer. It's not like something that was given, like the priesthood section 107, where it was all sort of given in about 3 or 4 lots and put together, or it's not, sort of disjointed out of time. This is literally like just the prayer for the Kirtland Temple, and it's beautiful to read. So really deep dive into it. You'll notice probably a few scriptures in there that you'll be like, oh, I've heard this a lot before, because they do come up a lot. But we're going to start looking at verse 5. Verse 5 is really, really cool. I actually went through, and this is another suggestion from the Come Follow Me manual, and you'll find so many in here. I went through and I marked all the promises that I could find in orange pen, because orange sort of stands out from all my other markings. My other markings are black and red and blue and green, and orange really stood out as a separate. So I used that colour, but, use whatever you want, really. And that was really cool to so I can sort of like easily identify these as I look at the section. But verse 5 says, for thou knowest that we have done this work through great tribulation, and out of poverty have given of our substance to build a house to thy name, that the Son of Man might have a place to manifest himself to his people. Remember, they were instructed to build temples. Those in Missouri did not. Those in Kirtland, they were poor, and I mean poor. They had nothing, very little income. The money they had gone to Zion's camp to try and save the other saints, to go and help them. So to build this Kirtland Temple took a lot. Now there's lots of wonderful stories around the woman breaking up their plates to make the walls sparkle with the shiny crockery in it, and the sacrifices that were given. And there's a picture, and I didn't write down the name of it, but I'm going to bring that up a lot, and it's beautiful. A painting that was done of that time and the look of it, and we're going to discuss that in the next one. There you go. So that's what I'll put it with. So if you're looking at this on a Monday, or I've said this is the first insight, that picture I'm going to talk about just then is going to go with insight number 2. But anyway, out of poverty or lack of, or just lack, out of poverty or lack, because, I've been there, out of sacrifice comes a deeper relationship with Christ. So because of the poverty of the saints, the church was given in the church so much. No, that doesn't even make sense. Because of the poverty of the saints and the church, so much was given to complete this temple. Get the sentence right. See? Gotta get it right. Anyway. Soon these saints would have to walk away and leave it behind. Isn't that tragic? They gave it all and they had to leave it behind. But it's a really good lesson too, to not be worldly. And these saints definitely were not. Yet the events and restoration of keys and spiritual outpouring made every worldly sacrifice worth it because of the eternal abundance. They looked into eternity and were richly blessed because of it. They weren't looking at what they were missing out on at that time. They just gave everything they could, every little bit. It's an amazing building. The whole story around it. Please go read it in Saints if you're a reader, or you just want to have someone read it to you. I don't know, read it as a family. It's beautiful. Anyway, the quote I put from this is from Elder Uchtdorf, and it sort of goes, and it doesn't really tie in specifically with this event, but it just ties in with a general theme. And it says, "Never forget you're a child of God. Rich blessings are in store." Now I know that's pretty much quoting straight from "I am a child of God," but we can forget that. We can be putting everything we have into a good cause, like the Kirtland Temple. We have had times, well, I've had times where I've paid tithing, and you hear this a lot, and that was all I had, and I paid tithing knowing that the Lord would provide. And it's a step of faith, and that's that causing that deeper relationship. When you have that, when you give up literally the last thing you have or the last meal you have to someone who needs it, and you're like, what do I do now, So when you sacrifice out of poverty, because it's a deeper sacrifice, this is the whole widow's mite thing, that one little bit that you have to give, and you give it, means a whole lot more than someone who gives 1/10 of their millions. So that brings you deeper to Christ. So if you're feeling in this position, deepen your relationship with Christ. Now is more than ever the time to turn to Christ, to increase your spiritual capacity, your learning, and all of that. And we're going to get to that in the other insights. But oh boy, is it the time, and rich blessings are in store. These saints looked at blessings that were of heaven. They treasured up things that were in heaven, not on earth, and they were richly blessed because of it. So keep that in mind when we look at the rest of this week, because it's just going to inspire and uplift you. So that's insight number 1, and I will see you soon for insight number 2.